what's going on? It's your boy Flo. I'm here with the Flow4life podcast, and today I got Alysha Ellis in the house, and she's also going to be here speaking about Mas LaRae as well. Go ahead and give them some.
Yeah, Mas LaRae, we're going to talk about business, entrepreneurship, and a pure message for our generation.
Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Just tap in with us.
Mic'd up with Mas LaRae.
So, what has Mas LaRae been up to?
Yeah, man, Mas LaRae has been up to a whole lot. We celebrated our 1-year celebration back in April, where we brought out amazing vendors and businesses in the city of Cleveland. So that was extremely successful. We launched a mini spotlight series featuring entrepreneurs from the event who are having an amazing impact in the city of Cleveland. We're also kicking off our all-star lineup for the hashtag Saturday Support Show. That's happening every Saturday on Facebook Live, where people can tune in around that 10:30 hour usually. And then I'm kicking off a new vlog that's going to be happening daily with Mic'd Up. That's going to be current topics. It's going to be about news. It's going to be what's happening in our communities, along with my own personal best practices and tips that I'm going to be just opening up and just being vulnerable.
Man, that's a lot you got going on.
Yes.
So, like, how was the experience, with having all the people come and you got all of these people talking about all the amazing things that they got going on? Like, how was the experience and the energy in the room?
Oh man, for the event, it was lit. I mean, we did a recap video of it. Folks can check that out on our website as well. But me personally, like, when you're in it, you're in it. I personally was thinking about the next event. So already when I was at that event, I'm like, all right, I was mentally making check notes in my mind. Like, these are the things I want to improve. This is the people I want to partner with for the next event. Mm-hmm. But overall, I felt like when people left, they felt energized. They felt inspired. The energy was high. We did a champagne toast at the end. Jeez. And it wasn't just about Mas LaRae. It was about everyone that Mas LaRae has connected with in the last year. So all of our feature vendors were all of our past guests from our shows. We partnered with organizations to talk about resources in the community for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So ultimately, I felt inspired, but I also was very tired at the end of the night, and I was already thinking, my mind was already thinking about, all right, how can I make this better? How can I have a larger impact with the next one?
Man, that's crazy. Like, it sounds good, and like it was a lot of good energy. So what made you want to plan the event, even having a Mas LaRae event?
Honestly, if I'm being like 100% real with you, I wanted to do a 1-year shirt. I wanted to do something that was custom, that was celebrating the 1 year that we've done so far with Mas LaRae. And knowing me, because I'm always about planning and like, how do you make the largest impact? And I was like, before you knew it, like not even 5 hours went by, and I was like, I'm gonna plan an event to sell the shirt, to do this, to do that, and it just became like this larger thing. It originally just started with like, I want to do a 1-year anniversary shirt that's customized, celebrating 1 year, and then it just turned into one thing after another. And now we're actually planning multiple events a year with other movers and shakers in the city of Cleveland that have a larger impact with it. So that's how originally it started. I was like, I'm gonna do this shirt. It's gonna be customized. It's gonna be for everyone who supported me. I'm actually rocking the shirt that I ended up going with, which is a pure message for our generation with the 2020 established on the back. Folks can cop that on our website.
So real quick, so what does a pure message for our generation mean to you and your brand?
Yeah, so for me, it's something personal. Growing up, I always use this story because I think it's impactful for our generation. I always heard about us being a product of our environments, right? Growing up in the inner city, growing up in poverty, growing up as people of color, you always hear that negative, false narrative of like, you ain't gonna be nothing, you're just a product of your environment. And if our environment is poverty, drugs, violence, all these things, then that's what I'm gonna be. So I changed my own mindset to think like, no, I'm gonna make my environment a product of me. So it was those type of messages that I was becoming more aware of and more conscious, and I wanted to share those messages with other people. So to me, that's a pure message versus a toxic message or a negative connotation that we grew up hearing. I really wanted to create a platform where we can share positive words, positive aspirations and inspiration through a pure message. So that's what it means personally for me. It empowers me daily, but I also know that just by sharing on Facebook and Twitter over the years, people really enjoy it. They want that extra push in the morning, or I always get a message like, wow, man, I needed to hear that this morning, or I needed to hear that when I posted it, and that empowered me. Like, okay, well, maybe if I grow a platform on a larger level that can reach more people who need to hear the message as well, that pure message, and then we can have a larger impact. So that's ultimately a pure message for our generation. It's our generation sharing our stories, sharing our experiences, and not allowing that false narrative to control our lives anymore.
Right. No, that's very impactful, because if you think about it, most time we got people that we know or grew up with, they didn't came from poverty or came from the hood. So by us even doing anything, with me doing the podcast or you doing the Mas LaRae, now it's somebody that's out there that's doing positive things in the community, that's able to connect with those people that's still there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because those people that's there, they might only get a certain type of conversation. Now, you coming through with the message you trying to give, now you just giving all these people motivation, you giving them inspiration, and you showing them like, yeah, I know you come from here, but you don't have to stay here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can elevate, you know, beyond what you think that you can do, and get around some people that's doing things that's going to impact other people. Yo, it's reach one, teach one. It's very motivational. Man, you can change a lot of different generations by doing that. Now, if they stay in there and they don't want to hear it, of course, they just hearing from somebody on the block. Instead of looking and trying to find big homie, go out there and try to find a mentor.
That's real. That's real. Mentorship is serious. It's just about wanting something that you haven't seen. And sometimes we always look for that inspiration, or we look for something that's not an example that we've seen. And for me, it's just like, I want to be that example that I always look for in my family or in my community. And sometimes we put that pressure, but ultimately, and I was talking about this on the show recently, it's just like, when you're a leader, it's hard for you to have people to look to. Because if you're the one always pushing someone, I'm like, dang, so we got to do this, we got to do that. You're motivating and you're leading. It's hard to look at leadership any other way. And you don't have that person pushing you. So you have to find those pieces of self-motivation and self-discipline, whether that comes from a mentor or a big brother or a big sister, mothers, fathers, whatever the case is. But you have to find something within yourself and within an external influence that can help you just as much as you're pouring into, you know, the folks that connected to you and people that look for you for motivation or discipline or pushing you to be like, yo, I know if I call Deontay, he gonna hit me with that, Leash, you can keep going, you got this, you're smart, you're working on Mas LaRae, you're doing all that, like, you're that, you know, and I'm that for you. But ultimately, a lot of leaders don't have that push or that team, so you have to be able to surround yourself by individuals who's also gonna hold you accountable.
So, you know, you kind of like a superhero to some people, right? You done took on all this responsibility. Like, how do you keep going every day? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the responsibility, you just put it on yourself. Nobody put it on you. You built this brand and you want to impact all these people. So how do you keep going? By having, like, say you might not have nobody that check up on you and make sure you doing it. So how do you keep going and doing it?
It's funny because I have conversations with myself. Honestly, I think a lot of creatives do. And I think the world has deemed those type of people to be kind of crazy and whatnot, but honestly, I think we're just more conscious. If we're having conversations with self, you're thinking through the next steps. So I was actually having a conversation with myself last night about the same thing you just asked me. And my answer is my faith, like God, my spirituality. That is what pushes me. That's what keeps me going. And I would challenge even your statement about putting it on myself, because ultimately, you know, I'm a believer in a higher power, that being God, and I believe that we all have a calling and a purpose. And so for me, it's just like, it's walking out what's already destined for my life. And that really is a relief. And sometimes we apply pressure that really doesn't exist. It's an illusion that we make up in our minds, or society or social media paints this picture that you have to reach these levels to be who you're going to be. But ultimately, like, we're walking in our destiny right now. And I had to change my mindset to not to really rely on so many other people to make me happy or make me feel like I'm in my purpose. My purpose comes from my spirituality and my walk with God. So that's where I get rejuvenated. That's what pushes me more. And that's where ultimately my pure message comes from. It's that journey and that experience that I do every day, every moment that's new, that I haven't really experienced like before this time.
Do you feel like there was any like delays when it comes to Mas LaRae and getting stuff done in a timely manner?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have, when you're an entrepreneur, I just saw this post. It was an entrepreneur herself. She was doing like this little skit on IG, and she was saying like, she kind of put herself like, when I'm a boss, I'm a strict boss. As an entrepreneur, right? Because you have to be your own boss. She said, but as an employee, I'm really like nonchalant. Like I'm a lazy employee.
Right.
So when you utilize that analogy in your day-to-day as an entrepreneur, you're your boss and you're your own employee. So you're gonna have times where you don't feel like doing something today. Like I don't feel like writing a blog, or I don't feel like going on live and talking about the platform. Ultimately, when you create something, you have to be consistent. So there's been times where I'm like, you know what, I'm just not gonna do it. And I started getting in the habit of creating enough content at one time when I was in a good place and I felt the energy. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna roll out 6 videos today. And that's what I did, and I positioned it and scheduled it to come out. So it's just about finding what works for you. I don't think there's a time where it's a delay. I just think it's a learning process. There's no blueprint in this work.
Definitely.
Especially from our community. You know that there's no one like you can call and be like, there's no Jay-Z in our neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? There's nobody like that who's coming back and giving the blueprint to us.
Right.
So you have to just learn the process that works for you and develop your own strategies and your own process that makes you, continue to do what you do.
Right. So I was looking at your show earlier, and I think the husband was talking, and he was talking about God, and he was talking about all the stuff he'd been going through.
Yeah.
And he said something important. He said he might have delayed me, but he didn't deny me. And I heard that earlier in the week, and I'm like, man,
that was hot.
I just heard this again. I heard this for whatever reason,
right.
But I feel like that with Flow4life sometimes. I got all this stuff going on, and it's like I be wanting to do it, but I think sometimes it's not the perfect time. And now I done bought a camera. Like, we getting set up, we doing it in person. So I feel like the delay, it was perfect timing.
Right. And that's what he said too. Later on in the conversation, he talked about timing and seasons. Like, we want, for me personally, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of opportunities. And when I was like 5 years ago, I was taking advantage of every opportunity. I was doing things I had no business doing. Like, I was not qualified to do that job, but it was something that I knew I could learn from. So I said yes. But now that I've experienced those things, now I can be like, all right, I can be more selective and know like, yeah, no, that's not for me right now, or I can create something and just put it on the back burner.
Right. Like
with Mic'd Up. Mic'd Up was something I had like 9 months ago. But I knew it wasn't time for me to put Mic'd Up out. So it's just about learning about the times, learning about the trends and what's happening around us to know, all right, now is the time to pull the plug and let that thing shoot off the rocket, because now is the time to do so.
So no, that's all important that you said. You said something when I called you, I think on Monday, and you was talking about all the stuff that you had to do to learn and go through a process a while ago, and it took you years to understand that. But you were saying how it prepared you for the season that you're going into. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. And if y'all know us, we have a lot of conversations. Like we go off and we'll just talk about 1,000 things in one phone call. But this was good because I was talking about, a lot of people know me for other entrepreneurial ventures that I've done, one being with Freshly Rooted. I co-developed a business with my mom 6 years ago named Freshly Rooted. We grew the brand, we grew the business. But I was so green to entrepreneurship. Honestly, I didn't even know the word entrepreneurship. I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't know really what it was. I was just like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna figure it out. And so that time I was doing my undergrad at CSU, And ultimately, it was those encounterments. I was talking with CEOs. I was talking to governing boards. I was bringing in, 5-figure contract deals. We were doing it at such a high level so soon that it prepared me. I feel like those first 3 years of that venture really prepared me for where I'm at now. And it's like, I didn't know it at the time. I didn't know personally what I was doing. I just knew that, this was something that my mom was called to do, and I'm part of my mom. So I felt like I was in a position just to honor her. And being young, being a Latina woman in the city of Cleveland, there's opportunities, but you have to find the opportunity, especially as people of color. There's a lot of resources we have access to. We just don't know that they exist. So it was during those experiences that I believe now, when I reflect upon it, and there was a lot of times that I complained about the situation that we were in, and I'm just like, man, we can be doing more. We should be generating millions of dollars right now. We should be elevating. And what I see now is that God was preparing me. He was teaching me and equipping me for what I'm walking through now. And it was those experiences of marketing development, business development, how to pitch your business, how to do a pitch competition. I did pitch competitions, and I hated public speaking. Like, no one would know that, but like, I was so nervous at public speaking. I mean, like, I would get sick before having to do a presentation. And so it was those experiences along with school, getting my master's in business, that really just elevated me and matured me in a way to find like this newness about myself that I never knew was within me. So long story short, I feel like we go through certain things in our lives through our journey that may not seem like it's useful or may not seem like it's going to take us anywhere. But I guess the pure message in that is you have to continue to stick with it. You have to continue to persevere in it, because it's those experiences preparing you for the next thing.
Or the next season.
The next season, when the time is right.
And man, there's so much stuff that I done learned or listened. When it comes to when you talk, I listen. Now, you said something else. To be ready is to be patient.
Man, that's an OG.
For whatever that stick out to me the most.
From Buckeye neighborhood, I can't even take credit for that. That's an OG, but that stuck with me. When I heard it, when my friend told me, Julian Kahn from Buckeye, from the city of Cleveland, he was like, Leash, to be patient is to be ready. And I'm just like, when someone tells you something and it's like, it's right, but you may not want to accept it at that time. Right, like, I've been ready, I've been seasoned, it's my turn. You're waiting for your turn, you're waiting, but yeah, to be patient is to be ready, and that's something that stuck with me. And whenever I have an opportunity to share it, I do, because that's definitely something that stuck with me as well.
Man, what's crazy? Like, Flow4life, man, this just started as like some idea I was having.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how I was gonna do it. My first podcast, I wrote it out, the whole thing. Like, that wasn't tested, I forgot how it was, but I forgot the name of it. But man, that's gonna bother me. But I basically scripted out the whole podcast, and then I started thinking of different topic names. So I thought about tested, not defeated, and I was like, dang, let me put Cam on that,
Yeah, that was
so
hot.
I put my boy Campbell on there, and from there I just started adding guests, and then me and Cam started rocking, and we was getting guests on there. And then from there I was like, let me just add guests and have them tell their story.
Yeah.
And the stories, man, from hearing like feedback from a lot of people, all those stories helped them get through the day, or it was something that they could relate to, and they know that it was like something that's honest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want people on the podcast that's not going to tell an honest story.
Right, be real.
You don't want to lie. Like, even with me, I'm not perfect, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, I know that I'm going to have certain delays because of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the more that I keep going and be consistent, the more stories I can have out there, the more guests and the more people we can actually help. You know what I'm saying? Because like you were saying, a lot of people don't really know about the resources that are available.
Right.
But with the podcast, we telling so much stories, you might get a resource from hearing something that we said.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Definitely. This storytelling is something that it goes back ancient history, right? And it's something that I feel like we have an opportunity to take control over the narrative, whether it comes from our community or our family, because we all heard stories growing up, right? That one uncle or grandma did something that was crazy, but like these stories about personal transformation, because that's what we're talking about a lot of the time. It's about how somebody beat the odds, right? And they're that Jay-Z of the family, right? Or they're that LeBron of the neighborhood. So it's those opportunities to actually sit back. We have to actually be taught how to listen, because we have so much trauma from our neighborhoods and from our family generationally that there's fundamental things that we just don't know how to do because of so much trauma, so much mental health issues. And so when you share a story, yes, to be vulnerable and open up about your own personal experience is one thing. And it takes courage, it takes boldness. And I always quote Erykah Badu on this, because she talks about, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. The same thing goes, right? It's your life. It's your creativity. So whether it's on a shirt or an audio, it takes courage to open up and be vulnerable. At the same time, we're artists too. It's just in a different format.
Right.
So when you're in those places, one, for the storyteller to open up, but two, on the other end, when you're on the podcast and you're doing that interview setting, as a listener, you have to be taught how to listen and have that transparent conversation, because if someone opens up and they're sharing their vulnerability with you, then how are you taking that in as a listener? So I also had to like train myself how to listen and how to engage, because ultimately I never grew up that way. You know, you was told what to do, and if you didn't listen, you was disciplined for your actions. So it's just a different way as an adult now. Just having to do my own practices and my own research on if I'm going to be having these conversations of transparency, honesty, and bringing people's true, authentic self to the space that we're creating, then I need to do my part. I need to be able to listen. I need to be able to have a conversation and create an environment where someone feels comfortable to open up and share their vulnerability and share their personal story with me too.
Man, you know what's crazy? Like, when it comes to listening, right? A lot of times, even still now, I kind of struggle with this. I listen more to respond than I listen to understand. And that's like the biggest flaw that we as people, we have. Because sometimes we get so caught up in our beliefs and what we think, that when somebody else tell us something, and it could be like them trying to give us some advice, it might have worked different for you, so you might be like, no, I'm not going to listen to you.
Off rip. You said the first two words, and like I'm already like zoning out. I'm not even listening to you no more.
Yeah, but it's important to like listen to understand. And I'm telling you, that's going to help. It can help your brand. For instance, the conversations that me and her have, like, I might respond a little bit, but I'm listening. And that's why I'm coming on here and giving you like stuff from the past that we done talked about, because that's stuff that stuck with me. Oh, and I do want to talk about the planting seeds.
Before we get there though, about the listening to understand, I was watching a documentary, and it's gonna bug me on what documentary. I watch a lot of documentaries because I love stories. Like, I love to hear real life, and I'll get into like movies that are like fictional and whatnot, but I prefer watching stuff that's based on real life experiences. But there was one documentary I was watching, and it was talking about to listen to understand versus listening to be understood.
Wow.
And when I heard that, I'm like, that sounds like the same thing. But ultimately, like, I don't have to. Every conversation I have, like, I don't have to tell you how I feel about what you're saying, because ultimately that reaction, your reaction in conversation, is based upon what you want the other person to understand about you, about your opinion, about your experience. Like, no one asked you about that. Maybe that person just wants you to listen to understand them and where they're at, versus you happen to respond to be understood. So it was the individual on the documentary was talking about when she started to change her mindset and stopping to have to be understood all the time, and really her approach is to understand other people. And it really just changed her projection in life overall. And I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to like look at that deeper and be able to apply that, because I do believe a lot of us are conditioned to, talk to react. And interactions is like actions is like, all right, what can I do to make him react in a certain way, versus how do we have a transparent conversation or dialogue. And I call this, we do a lot of program development with the business I worked with before around healthy dialogue. We never grew up with no healthy dialogue.
Nah.
You ain't had nothing to say. Like you do what I say in the house and that's it. Like you don't ask no questions. I don't care about your feelings. Like, and that was our culture. That's how we grew up. So then how do you think we're gonna act as adults?
We reacting to everything.
So now you can see the part of the getting to the root of our behavior in our communities and in our neighborhoods is based upon our childhood experiences, our childhood upbringing. That now as adults, when we're parenting our children, we're saying the same thing that we was taught. So we have to find the loopholes in it to really discover how do we improve our quality of life. And that starts with first self, spirit, mind, and body before you can impact anyone else physically. So I had to just put that in there about the understand, the understood, because that was, for me, I was just like, I paused the documentary. I'm like, hold on, what did she just say?
Play that back.
Yeah, that was good, because I see myself doing that sometimes, especially when I'm like off air, off of the show, or off of Mas LaRae, and I'm just having like regular conversations. I'm like, there's something that someone said. I'm like, I'm trying to keep that in my mind, so when it's my turn to talk, I can start right there.
Right, I just did that.
We do it just like naturally, because that's just how we're conditioned. But being conscious of, all right, these are the things I want to try out and sample when I'm in conversation. It's just having those like trial and errors consistently to be like, all right, and none of us are perfect, but I feel like as we mature, especially utilizing our platforms to develop content, you have to be able to learn different communication skills. Like it takes skills, it takes discipline to do it at a high level on a consistent basis. It's not about just turning on the camera and be like, oh yeah, we're going to just chop it up today. It's like, no, it's deep. In my opinion, in my experience, it's deeper than that.
Yeah, and by us communicating on here, we need to make sure that we understand what each other's saying, as well as the guest or the people that's
audience.
Trying to listen, the audience or our followers on social media. So it's important that we make sure that we try to make it clear as possible. And of course, we're not going to be perfect at everything, but we trying to be the best that we can, and we're going to deliver these messages, drop some gems, have these guests on there, and of course we, go back and forth. We mentor each other.
Right.
So that's something.
Yeah, and that's what I've enjoyed. I think about our relationship the most is the fact that we've always been in different places in our lives.
Right.
And now it's like after we've known each other since high school, it's just like now we're in a place that we ultimately have like the creative freedom to experience life in a way that we never could have in the past. So like this is a place to me to be celebrated, even though I know we're still working hard, we're still on that hustle and bustle every day, but I like to celebrate, and that's one reason why I wanted to do the 1 year celebration, because it's moments like that where we physically have to stop. Like we have to, because if not, we're always chasing something. There's always going to be a better car. There's always going to be that bigger house. There's always going to happen to get more followers. But like, we can't allow those things to control our lives. And we must, like for real, we must take the stops, the pauses to look, listen, and see what's in front of us right now, and to celebrate those milestones, celebrate the small things, and really take the time for you to experience like what's now. And I know we're always going to be going after something else, and it's going to be like another creative project, but I just want to challenge everyone to continue to take those pauses, take those stops, and celebrate how far you have come, because we have come a long way, even when you think about it generationally. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my ancestors prayed for me to be in the position I'm at right now. And, some of them, they died fighting for that. So we have an honor to respect that legacy and be like, man, I have to appreciate this moment right now, even being, here chopping it up with you. Like, who would have thought? Like,
I never thought, like, this was like random. But then I was like, man, I just bought a camera. I got to get Alysha on here. She down here from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm like, man, I got to get my girl on here. We already did a podcast. I know that you got stuff you want to talk about. So I was like, well, why not do it together?
Right.
But I do want to talk about Mas LaRae and like all the stuff that you did and accomplished. Can you talk about how planting those seeds was so important.
Yeah, planting seeds is something deep for me personally because I feel like my own personal experience has been evidence of many people planting seeds for me. So like when you came with me at that topic, I'm like, man, you don't even know like how much I value the planting seed analogy because I personally have been impacted tremendously on people planting seeds for my life and for my journey since before I was even born. When being in my mother's womb, there was people who vouched for my life, and that's my own personal testimony. So for me to be in a position to plant seeds with other people, it's humbling for me, and it's an honor because I know so many people who've done it for me who may not even be conscious, of what their influence and impact was on my life at that moment. So I take great honor in doing it. I love to mentor youth. I love to be with youth. They keep me young and they keep me hip too. I'm like, oh, how you do that dance? Are you trying to get in it with them? You know what I'm saying? But it's like it's those planting seeds for me. It's part of who I am. So I don't see a lot of people like, oh, it's something you have to do, but it's just so organically who I am, intertwined in just my person that it's just like whatever is mine, I open up and I give, and we have those type of conversations. Like for me, I don't think anybody in my circle should have to go and get an MBA. Like if I have an MBA, then it's your MBA. I should be able to give you everything I have, just like vice versa. And we should be able to learn from that. And I look at planting seeds in that way as well. It's just like being able to have relationships with people who it's a give and take relationship. So planting seeds, that I gotta re-listen to that podcast too because that was fire.
So with me, like planting seeds, right? It could be stuff that you're doing with Mas LaRae, like how you had your 1-year event and had all those guests that you had. That planted the seed for me. That's something that I should do. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I watched her graduate with her bachelor's degree. And that planted the seed too, because I kept telling her, I'm about to go back to school. Now I'm in school. I'm about 25 credits away from my bachelor's. But she planted that seed for me and a couple other people too. I seen them graduate, but I think you was the first person that I seen graduate in person and get their bachelor's degree. So, and
that's why, and we don't even know, like, you don't know the impact you can have. It can be one word. It can be giving someone, opening a door for somebody that day that had a horrible day or horrible week or horrible life. And that like kind gesture was something that impacted them, and you can count that as, planting a seed. So it's like, you have to walk your journey. And when you walk your journey in purpose, those seeds are just flowing out of you like as you walk, as you do what you do. And then those intentional ones, like the one that like, I'm gonna call him, and I know that this is on my heart to share with him. I need to make that call. And we get those moments like, I gotta hit him up, or I gotta go drop this off to my grandma because she's really, she's heavy on my heart or something. Like those intentional, like I call those obedient acts. Like that's heavy on you, and if you go to sleep that night, you don't do what you're supposed to do.
You don't feel bad.
You're gonna wake up and who knows? Like that person may not be there tomorrow, and so you were really supposed to be there to meet that person and do what you're supposed to do. So I try to practice it. I'm not perfect by any means, but I try to practice each moment as if I never lived it before, and it's something in there that I've never done, and that's meant for me to experience at that moment, which could be very hard. It is challenging to live every moment that way because we live in such a fast-paced society that we're conditioned to get up, brush our teeth, shower, do all that, be out the house, get to work, and you don't even remember what song you listened to on the way there because you're that conditioned to do that routine daily. So it's just about finding new practices that untrain yourself and your mind to experience these things consciously.
What does Mas LaRae have going this year?
Yeah, so this year I'm really looking forward to continuing to grow the hashtag Saturday Support platform, which is live on Facebook every Saturday. We have some amazing guests coming up this summer. And then sneak peek on our new events that we're going to be doing each quarter. So we're planning for 2 events this year, one in September, one in December. We got a dynamic team of entrepreneurs who's going to be co-hosting and co-leading the events in partnership with Mas LaRae. So I'm really looking forward to being able to do what we did in April with the celebration, expanding that vision into, you know, a quarterly event where people can come out, talk about resources. People can also come and share their businesses. We're going to have over 20 vendors of Black and Brown owned companies there on site where you can come and purchase their products and services. And then we're also going to be including a panel discussion at that event as well. So you can learn about the resources that are available in the community and throughout the state of Ohio as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm just honestly just looking forward to me on a personal note about just continuing to learn that balance of that health and wellness and how I can do what I do on a higher level, but continue to make sure I'm taking care of me, my spirit, mind, and body. I talk a lot about that in my blogs. So that's on a personal note. And then everyone can stay ready for Mic'd Up. Man, Mic'd Up is going to be taken to another level with the Mas LaRae brand. I'm going to really amp it up this summer. And then, you know, hopefully, you know, continue to work on a couple different projects that I got saucing in the back with it. Yeah. So, what about you? What you got coming up this year?
So
what are you excited about, man?
So Flow4life, we shooting content. I'm trying to get more in person, you know, interviews and stuff like that. But I'm gonna be doing the podcast over the Zoom app, of course. I'm trying to get more guests. So financial literacy is something that I feel like we lack in our community. So that's something, getting people on there and speaking about that more. And also I want to get like college athletes, and if I can get a couple professional NFL or NBA players, you know, hey, why not?
Let's do it.
Hey, but really just trying to build up from where I'm at right now and get more guests and then just do more podcast interviews. I want to do one a week if I could keep that up, but that's my next goal.
So we got to have the audience hold my guys accountable on that, because that's huge. Building that content and being consistent with it is huge. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to seeing that Flow4life podcast with the features and vice versa. We just got to continue to support each other and grow and expand. And honestly, it's all about that network. Going out, building relationships. So any of the Mas LaRae family, if you're in the Florida, the South area, you got to link up with my guy here on the podcast too. That in-person interaction is so meaningful and impactful long-term as well.
Exactly. So what's your website and where can we find your information? Yeah,
so people can check us out at maslarae.com. That's MASLARAE. Simple, smooth, all on website. You can find all of our content, our videos, our shows, anything new that's popping. You can hit the subscribe button. This is key. Once you go to our website, you want to make sure you hit the subscribe button. We get access to your email, so then you can get access to all of our updates. We send out a weekly newsletter that comes out talking about the show, talking about apparel, the clothing with the purpose, and this news every day. You know, we're sending things out on social media, and then social media, we're on YouTube, Facebook, and IG. That's Mas LaRae on all social medias. And feel free to connect with us. I'm always looking forward to meet new people. The show is an open platform as well, so those are just ways that you can connect with us. And if you know anybody, it's free to share people's stuff. Like, it's easy just to press share, just to like, just to comment. And then, you know, if anybody wants to continue to grow brands collectively, I'm always looking for partnership too. So yeah, definitely Mas LaRae on the books.
Definitely. So you can find Flow4life on Instagram. So type in Flow4life podcast, and that's where you can find my podcast information. You're going to see like old episodes I had with people. I will have a website soon.
Hold me accountable.
She got to hold me accountable, but I got a website that's going to come soon.
Yes.
Because she said all that stuff, I got motivated. So you can follow me on Facebook. Because when I do the podcast over the Zoom app, I'm going to share it with Facebook too. So you can type in Deontay D Smooth Flowers, and it's going to show on there when we live streaming. That's pretty much it. Can you share a positive message for, you know, the viewers?
Yeah, so after all that we already dropped, I think a positive message overall is, you know, take time to discover you. I think we have so many things that we've experienced, and I talked a little bit about it generationally within our family dynamics and whatnot. And a lot of those things have conditioned us to be who we are today. Some of those things are good, some of the things are bad.
Right.
You don't have to continue on your life with things that you don't like about yourself. We have the power to change those things and practice new disciplines and practice new tips and wellness things for ourselves. So I just say take time to discover you and allow yourself to be open to new things, allow yourself to experience new things, because in the culture that we grew up in, it's a negative thing when you change, or you acting brand new now, or you done changed up on it. It's like I watched a Jay-Z interview. He's like, there's no way I should be the same man I was when I was 25. Like, yes, I changed. Yes, I evolved. And we have to continue to change that in our culture, because it's not healthy. We need to change. We need to evolve. We need to have generational wealth. We need to build houses. We need to own land. Like, we need these things. We can no longer continue to practice the old. So in that discovery of new, just be open-minded and continue to share what you have within you, because you have purpose, you have meaning, and your life is valuable. So that's the pure message from Mas LaRae today.
And so what I want to leave y'all with is, don't be afraid to fail. First of all, a lot of people, they're afraid to take them chances, so that's why they don't get started in anything. I talked to her the other day about all the stuff I done did or trying to do, and I try a lot of different stuff, no matter if I succeed at it or if I fail at it. But I put myself in certain rooms and I get certain information, so I'll try stuff, see if it worked for me. If it don't, just try something else, just move forward. But if you fail, just try something new, but you gotta do that in order for you to find your passion, your purpose, what you would like to do or gain out of this life. You know what I'm saying? So just aim for purpose, but try different things. It's gonna lead you towards your purpose. So, it's gonna take time, but once you figure it out, look how many lives you're gonna affect.
Yeah, it's true. So that's what I got for you. Y'all been mic'd up with Mas LaRae. You've been tuned in with Flow4life. Like, this is a dope video that we sat down and did. I appreciate the opportunity to chop it up with you here.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
In Florida, we had a good time, but I just want to make sure people stay tuned and stay connected and stay supporting, because there's a lot coming. There's a lot coming your way.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, you guys. Thanks for tuning in for this week for Flow4life. Look forward to new podcasts, new content, new merch. This video that we just posted will be uploaded on my YouTube. Snippets gonna go up on Instagram. You can't give Instagram everything. But yeah, we had some fun today. We talked about stuff that we done discussed in the past and stuff that we're trying to do for the future. And of course, what we doing now. So just tap in with Flow4life on Instagram, Flow4life Podcast, and just look out for us. We coming.
That's cool.
What's going on? It's your boy Flo. I got my girl here, Alysha, and her brand.
Keep it going. It's cool. I edited it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Right. What's going on? Damn.
The bloopers.
All right.
My guy can't even introduce himself
Come on,
right now.
Man. I don't know who I am. What's going on? It's your boy Flo here with your Flow4life Podcast. And I got my girl Alysha Ellis and her brand Mas LaRae. Give them a quick introduction.
Yeah, we're gonna be chopping it up about entrepreneurship, business development, our brands, and a positive message for our generation. That's it?
Yeah, that was it, right?
No, I want you to check it out. You're gonna be tuning in.
Damn. We doing all that?
Or, all right, how about you just say it?
I might have to delete that one.
Why? All right, well, go ahead and delete it. We'll start over.
Yeah.